Greetings and thank you for joining us for the 21st episode of DC Animation with Spenser and Friends. This is an LMG Podcast Production. Today, I'm joined by a dear friend.
Hello, I'm Dallas.
Dallas is back with us. If you are a frequent listener, you have heard Dallas's voice before. We reviewed a movie earlier in this series, and I think we had a good time, but I think we'll have a better time today.
Mhm.
So, Dallas, just to remind the people, can you tell us a little bit about your DC consumption?
It's mostly movies and video games. Um, I didn't really read much comics growing up. Um, yeah, definitely video games is where I consume most of my DC stuff.
That should work out for us today, then.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate you for joining us on this journey through DC animation. Today's film is Batman: Assault on Arkham, released July 29th, 2014. I'm going to read a synopsis in my own words, and then we're going to talk about it.
Sounds good.
So we open with the Riddler and Amanda Waller having a battle of wits, and the Riddler loses. Amanda Waller sends a tactical unit to deal with the Riddler when suddenly the lights go out and a voice in the night says, "Riddler is mine." Holy crap, it's Batman. Batman handles the tactical unit and interrogates the Riddler, and Amanda Waller calls in an order to assemble Task Force X. We then get a sitcom-style introduction to each member of the squad. Everyone wakes up in a room, and Amanda Waller introduces herself and lets everyone know the deal. They are convicted with, they're convicts, and they have skills and life sentences that they have been brought all together to run an off-the-books suicide mission. Everyone also has an explosive device in their neck that Amanda Waller can detonate at any time. KG Beast thinks that she's bluffing and gets his head blown off. The Riddler stole sensitive data and from Amanda Waller's computer, and their mission is to break into Arkham and retrieve it. The squad is put to sleep again, and they are dropped out of an airplane shortly after waking up. It's game time. So, after landing, the squad moves through the sewers to avoid detection. They arrive at the Iceberg Lounge owned by the Penguin, and he provides them with what they will need. Killer Frost hears from Amanda Waller about a special assignment that is just going to stay between the two of them, and Deadshot finds himself helping Harley scratch an itch. Now it's mission time, and Harley gets dropped off at a toy store where she and Batman have a little scrap. Evidently, the Joker has a dirty bomb hidden somewhere in Gotham. She knows nothing about it and is given to the police so that they can take her to Arkham. Deadshot acts as a police officer that brings her in. Everyone else doesn't have a super smooth time getting in with their disguises, but on the way to her cell, the Joker spots Harley and starts talking that shit. So she grabs Deadshot's gun and starts shooting him, tries to shoot him, through the glass. In all the commotion, Deadshot is able to hook up a device that changes what's on the computer so that everyone else is able to get in. They all suit up and go to the security room to ensure that they are not caught on the cameras. Deadshot and Captain Boomerang get into a little skirmish, and the squad has to fight their way through several security guards. Batman doesn't feel right about his interaction with Harley earlier that evening, so he looks at the Arkham footage and figures out that it's not live, so he heads that way. After handling the guards, Deadshot lets everybody know that he is the HNIC, and the squad makes their way to the contraband room where they are able to locate the Riddler's staff. But Batman shows up and the fight begins. After an explosion, Black Spider walks out with Batman's utility belt. They see that the staff doesn't have what they were looking for, and Killer Frost pays the Riddler a little visit, which was the special assignment that she was given. And So, she is completing that for Amanda Waller. He tells Killer Frost that he knows how to defuse the bombs, and she decides not to kill him. The Joker is pissed off about Harley's new man, but then realizes that she gave him a way to escape his cell. Meanwhile, the rest of the squad arrives at the Riddler's cell to see that he and Killer Frost are not there. The squad tries to make their way to the medical center so that the Riddler can deactivate their bombs, but they are met with the Special Crimes Unit. Killer Shark, or King Shark, is used as a tank guided by Killer Frost to get through. Once in there, the Riddler sets everybody up to be given some electroshock therapy, which is how to defuse the bombs while Black Spider keeps a lookout. Amanda Waller calls in and she is pissed because things are not lining up. The Riddler turns on the machine to shock everyone, and Amanda Waller detonates the bombs. The shock didn't work on King Shark, and his head explodes. In the hallway, the Joker finds Batman, and his head explodes. It is revealed that Black Spider has been Batman in disguise. He and the Riddler fight, then the Joker shows up and starts blowing shit up. Batman has to make a strategic retreat, and the Joker is about to kill the squad when Harley jumps in and says that the only reason she is there was to break him out. Deadshot and the Joker have a standoff, and the Joker and Harley make their escape. The Joker sets a timer for a bomb in Harley's mallet, and the remaining members of the squad try to get out of Arkham. Batman comes back to Arkham to stop the Joker, and the Joker releases all of the prisoners in Arkham, causing, a riot. The squad needs to escape, and they all go their separate ways to try to make that happen for themselves. Killer Frost tries to escape in a police car, but Bane throws it and it explodes. Deadshot is the one who makes it to the helicopter to escape. Turns out Joker and Harley were also on that helicopter. So Joker and Deadshot start fighting while Harley tries to not crash the helicopter. Batman is in pursuit and he manages to get Harley off the chopper. Deadshot and Joker continue their fight, which ends with the Joker being thrown into the chopper, which falls several stories and explodes. Batman defuses the bomb that the Joker set off, or that the Joker started the timer for, and then he pays Amanda Waller a visit. He gives her a warning, and then she sees a little red dot, and it is Deadshot that has her in his sights. Credits. Yep. So, Dallas, what do you think of the movie?
That's pretty good. I really enjoyed it. I'd never seen it before, so that was my first time watching it, and it was pretty exciting throughout.
Excellent. What were your thoughts on the art style?
I love the way it was drawn, or animated. I thought it looked great.
Excellent. Excellent. I agree. What were your thoughts on the voice cast?
Top notch. I love the voice cast. I knew a lot of them just by when they first started talking. Then I looked up. I was like, oh my god, there's so many good voice actors in this thing.
Yeah. I would say so far this is the best voice cast. Period. This voice cast is very good.
Yeah.
I didn't have issues with any of them. So, one of the reasons that I wanted you for this episode is because this movie takes place in the same universe as the Arkham games.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you have played through all of the Arkham games.
I have.
You mentioned very specifically that video games is where a lot of your DC knowledge comes from. Mm-hmm. And so I definitely wanted you on this episode as an expert with the Arkham games. Mm-hmm. Because this movie exists in that same universe.
Stuff always goes down at Arkham.
Oh yeah, always.
Always.
As far as the art style, I really enjoyed it. This is one of the only movies where Batman has eyeballs that you can see. Because usually his eyes are just white, but in this movie, you could actually see eyeballs.
Mhm.
And this is one of the very few times that's the case.
Huh. That's I didn't even realize it until you pointed it out just then, but yeah, I guess I didn't even think about it. Huh.
Yeah, and so that's one, just a little tiny detail
Mhm.
that I thought added a little something, made it a little different. This, in my opinion, was barely a Batman movie.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. The further it went in, I was like, this is a Suicide Squad
this is absolutely a Suicide Squad
movie.
movie.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it exists in Batman's game, and
Hmm.
Batman is, in it.
Hmm.
But like, yeah, this is barely a Batman movie, in
Hmm.
my opinion.
You could
This
even
is
almost argue it's a Deadshot movie to to an extent.
Yeah, I'd say it's a Suicide Squad movie, but
Hmm.
yes, it is absolutely a Deadshot movie. Which
Hmm.
let's talk about him. Um, so this is my Floyd Lawton. Like this is the best version, my
Hmm.
favorite version of Deadshot that I've seen. He is voiced by the dude who plays Damien Dark in the Arrowverse.
Hmm.
So I have said it in several episodes. I love the reuse and rotation of these actors in DC projects.
Hmm.
And he did a phenomenal job. He was very serious, did not play around, and he was very skilled, very capable. In episode 3 of DC Animation with Spenser and Friends, we talk about a movie, Gotham Knight. And in that movie, there's a version of Deadshot that I do not like one bit.
Oh.
And so seeing this version of Deadshot, like, because this is like that again, this is my Floyd Lawton. Like,
Hmm.
I love Deadshot in this movie. I
Hmm.
think he's great. And we will see him later in this series as well, but like that I can think of, even with the Will Smith version, like this is my favorite version of Deadshot. We have Harley, who was voiced by Starfire from Teen Titans. I'm sure she does a bunch of other shit too, but I
Yeah.
think she did a great job voicing Harley.
Hmm. Yes.
Uh, and
Kind
this
of.
is like a very classic Harley. Like this is,
Yeah.
I feel like this is the Harley that most people, not this specifically, but like that version or that style of voicing Harley is what people are used to.
Hmm.
Black Spider was voiced by Giancarlo. I love him. He's in everything it seems like now.
Yeah.
But yeah, Giancarlo is he's great in everything that he does. Have you watched the Harley Quinn show?
Hmm.
Okay. Well, the Harley Quinn show, which we may talk about like way, way later, like
Hmm.
years from now, perhaps. It is a pretty I'd call it a comedy.
Okay.
And it's a pretty dark comedy. Like it's for adults. Like children should not be watching it. But it has a lot of these same characters in it and very different versions of them. So watching that and watching this, like you get very, very different versions of characters.
Uh,
So like King Shark, for example, in this, he's a lot more humanoid,
hmm.
but in Harley Quinn, like he's actually a shark.
I got you.
He's got legs, but he's a shark. And since it's a comedy, he like wears a hoodie and is a pretty chill dude.
Okay.
He's a dad now. So yeah. And I bring that up because in Harley Quinn, there are a lot of these same characters, and it's again very different versions of them. But anyway, um, speaking of King Shark, he's voiced by John DiMaggio. Um, Another reason I wanted you on this one is because you and I have spent many, many hours playing Gears of War.
Oh yeah.
And so for Marcus to be in this movie is just great. Uh, he is also the Joker in episode 8, where we discuss Under the Red Hood. So
Hmm.
John DiMaggio is no stranger to the DC things. And then we have Killer Frost, who was voiced by a lady who's in so much. I know her as Avatar Kyoshi from
Hmm.
Avatar The Last Airbender, but she's in a bunch of stuff. But yeah, so um talking about the movie, were you already familiar with the Suicide Squad?
Yes. I've been familiar with Suicide Squad. I wasn't necessarily familiar with all these characters though.
Okay, and the
Um,
Suicide Squad is one of those groups that like changes, and it's got
yeah,
different people in it every single time.
yeah.
And so, yeah, like that makes sense. I think the first time I saw this movie was the first time I had ever seen Black Spider.
Mm,
Because I had not seen him before. And it he was not a villain, it seemed like it looked he was
yeah,
acting like he was a vigilante, but like
yeah,
a very anti-hero
yeah,
style person, because it sounded like he did not want to work with criminals one bit.
yeah. In fact, that's like one of the first things he says when they get kidnapped by Waller is like, "I don't work with these kinds of people,"
Yeah,
or
I don't work
however
with
you put it.
convicts,
Yeah.
scum. Yeah, like he was he had a superiority complex
Mm,
to these people.
yeah.
But yeah, and you would think that he was written in a way, because since his name is Black Spider, you would think that he was a lot closer to Spider-Man. Like he's
Mm,
kind of um one of DC's answers to Spider-Man, but this version of Black Spider, not even a little bit.
no, no, he's more
Like,
like a ninja or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
he is very much a ninja assassin,
Mm,
stealthy. Like, yeah, he likes to be up close, and he's yeah, like very unlike Spider-Man in a lot of ways.
yeah.
But I have seen versions of Black Spider that are a lot closer to Spider-Man, but I thought
Oh.
that that was interesting.
Mm,
So in the beginning of the movie, we see Amanda Waller and the Riddler just kind of going back and forth, and she's
mm,
just like, "Hey, I really just needed to stall to find you. So now that I've done that, I'm going to send a unit in there to get you." And then Batman shows up, and he ruins some people's day.
mm,
Let me tell you this version, and this, yeah, we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but yeah, this Batman, like in the Arkham games, he gets right to it.
oh yeah. Yeah.
Like
Just
he was too
beating
much.
ass.
Yeah, beaten ass. It was too much. So let me actually ask you this question. Um, who in this movie, I guess of the main characters, do you see in the Arkham games?
uh, Deadshot.
Okay.
Um, Riddler, of course. Joker. I don't remember off the top of my head if Frost is in it.
Okay.
She might be, but like you said, it wasn't Killer Shark.
King
Was it
Shark.
King Shark? He wasn't in it. Uh, Black
Is
Spider.
Captain Boomerang in it?
Captain Boomerang is not in it because I had never heard of Captain Boomerang before this movie.
Captain Boomerang is more of a Flash villain.
Mm,
I think King Shark may also. I don't know who King Shark belongs to, but I know Captain Boomerang is a Flash villain.
mm,
Um, I don't know who Black Spider belongs to, or if he belongs to anybody.
mm.
Um, and in this, I guess KG Beast was a robot, because when his head exploded, it was very mechanical. Like it was not bloody or anything.
I didn't even realize that. But you're right.
Because when everybody else's head
Yeah,
exploded,
it's pretty graphic. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but his
Huh.
just kind of exploded like a robot.
Mm,
And I mean, that's cool. That's fine. It's not an
yeah.
issue. But I was like, I thought he was a person, but okay.
I don't know why he just walked out. But she's like, "Go ahead, try me."
Well,
Like,
he walked out because he thought she was bluffing. He said,
yeah.
like, you wouldn't have gone to all the. He had it like, if it wasn't Amanda Waller,
Mm,
then he would have had a good case. But obviously, he didn't know who he was fucking with.
yeah.
Like that was very clear, because one thing I know about Amanda. Speaking of that, I forgot. That Amanda, that's my Amanda Waller. Like
Mm,
CCH, I
yeah.
love her as Amanda Waller.
Mm,
Um, Whenever they did the Suicide Squad movie, she should have been Amanda Waller. Like
mm,
I, that's my Amanda Waller. But
yeah.
not to speak negatively about Viola Davis, but CCH is that's my
Mm,
Amanda Waller. But
yeah.
yeah, Amanda Waller, that's she. Oh God, she does not. She's a broken Xbox. She don't play no games, and KG Beast had never dealt with her, because the fact that Floyd and Harley were like, "Oh, we're back. All right, what do you need done?" Like they had played this game before, and so they knew the deal. And again, KG Beast, I think he was put in the movie just so we knew that Amanda Waller was not playing around.
And that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, like I think he was absolutely just planted there for our. And there were a couple of times they did that, because this movie makes it very clear, like, the level of power and authority that Amanda Waller has is pretty serious.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the things that I'm glad they did. They also, in the montage where we find out who's going to be in the Suicide Squad, it's not only a montage of who they are, but it's also a montage of them being captured.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's how they all got to this point, or what situation led them to where they are now.
And I think that was really well done. Like, it looked great, and nice way to introduce everybody.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Like, I'm glad that that's the way they did it. So yeah, she assembles Task Force X because she's like, he has very sensitive data and I can't have that. Like, that's not gonna work. So she calls them together. They wake up in a room, and Amanda Waller is like, "Yeah, here's the deal." KG Beast is like, "No, you wouldn't do that." And then he gets his shit blown off. And then Amanda Waller drops them out of a plane just to flex. Because any of them could have died when she dropped them out of that plane.
Yep.
Like, that was so trifling. Because, yeah, and she said, like, "Remember this feeling, convicts.
Your life is in my hands."
Yeah, your life is in my hands. I hold your life in my hands. So don't get it twisted. Understand that I am her," is what Amanda Waller said. So they land, and they have to go through the sewers. And one thing that I love about that is everybody's real clear. Batman is too much. There is no confusion. The only person who's even questioning it is Captain Boomerang. And when he does, everybody's like, "Oh, you want to go ahead? No,
like, go ahead. Yeah, go try it out.
Be my guest. Like, go ahead up there." And he's like, "No, we're not. It's only a couple more miles. It's fine. I'll just stay down here with y'all. No need in splitting up." Yeah. That's the thing. Like, everybody knew. King Shark knew, Killer Frost knew, Floyd absolutely knew. Harley, like, nobody wanted those problems. Because that's the only person they were worried about alerting was Batman. They said, like, "We don't care about alerting anybody else, but do you want to deal with the Bat?" And Cat Boomerang was like, "You know what? I'm good." So yeah, it is a very clear that Batman is too much. Like, and everybody's aware of it. Like, everybody's like, that's the guy that we want not involved at all. And to the point where Amanda Waller was like, "The whole reason we're doing this tonight is because Batman is busy." And the fact that Floyd very specifically said, "What about Batman?" Like, I don't want to have those problems. So I guess this is a Batman movie because Batman is too much, and they make that abundantly clear. And I love it.
It's kind of like how some movies have done it, but where, like, just the thought of Batman just possibly being in the shadows is enough to keep the criminals at bay a little bit. Yeah.
Yes, that's the thing. Yeah, like, if they see a dark corner, they're like, "Oh shit!" Like, So yeah, it's I love it. I will say, they did demonstrate that Black Spider does have skills, because while everybody was like clamped down to their chair, Black Spider just wasn't. Like, he just escaped and was ready to start killing people.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, if you do that, Amanda Waller's gonna blow your whole shit up, so that's probably not a good idea. But okay. So they arrive with the Penguin. And one question that I had for you, how do you like your Penguin? Because we have we have different versions of the Penguin, but like there are some versions of the Penguin that are just like a man who's like built a certain way, and that we range from just like a human man up to like an actual like has penguin qualities.
Yeah.
How do you like your Penguin?
Man, that's a good question. Uh, I guess I kind of prefer just like a normal, not penguin. Just kind of has like the features of it. But I mean, I'm fine either way. But the the way he was just scarfing down those fish was just like, ugh.
Yeah. And honestly, this was a pretty good hybrid because we usually
Yeah.
either see Penguin as a human who is very in charge, like he's got himself set up, he's in good shape, he's like already at the top of the crime ladder, if you will.
Yeah.
And then or we see versions like in Batman Returns where he is an outcast and he is very much a penguin and doing penguin things. And I think that this was somewhere in the middle where he's a human, but he's still doing penguin shit. Because like when he was just eating those whole fish, I was like, oh my Lord.
And just, he had like a huge pile of them.
Yeah, like it was a massive pile.
Yeah.
And he was just eating them like they were goldfish. Like just yeah.
But I kind of like the way you more of the like mob boss kind of penguin. I do prefer that over like, the other one. So
yeah, and I liked this version of Penguin, and I even like the fact that he wasn't just American. In this movie. So, do we see Penguin in Arkham in the games?
Yeah, he's in there quite a bit actually.
I assumed he would be.
He might be in all of them, all three of them.
Okay, I assumed he would be.
Yeah.
And I will say one thing with Penguin, I feel like they've gotten away from the trick umbrella because I feel like that was Penguin's like signature thing was the trick umbrella, and I feel like I don't see him use it a whole lot in a lot of more recent stuff.
No, not really.
But he is when he's there, I love the interaction that he and Floyd have because there's just respect there.
Yeah.
Like he says, like, this is the best man for the job. Like just straight praise. Like, I love this man. I love working with him. He gets the job done. He does good, clean, efficient work. Like, this is who you want. And then he sees Harley Quinn.
Yeah. Like flipping the switch.
Like he immediately is like, fuck that bitch. Like he like on sight, he saw her and immediately pulled out the gun.
Yeah.
Which may have been his umbrella.
It was his umbrella.
Yeah. But that's why I mentioned that, because we don't see him use his umbrella, like trick umbrella, very often. But yeah, he got that thing. He was ready to unload it on her. Yeah. And he was pissed because it's like, you cost me all this money for no reason.
Yeah, for a laugh.
Yeah, just for a laugh. And yeah, he was ready to put her down.
Oh, yeah.
And then Floyd had to step in and say, probably not a good look. I don't think you should do that. And then, yeah, all the respect is gone. He's like, get the fuck out of my face. Get what you need and get the fuck out. Like, Harley just ruined his whole mood. And that was I like that there's stuff in the world, and I like that there's relationships that have history behind them, and there's things that have happened between people, and this movie does a good job of demonstrating that it's really hard to put together a team of people that are going to get along, let alone a team of people who are villains, and so who have very specifically negative qualities about them. And that's why Amanda Waller handled it the way she did. That's why she gave them a little incentive and said, you pretty much don't have a choice. Like, I will blow your head off and no one will be bothered. So you're going to do what I say. And so they, during a lot of the movie, Captain Boomerang and Deadshot are just having a pissing contest.
Mm-hmm.
And we see a lot of that happening, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Because
I was curious about that. So do they have, I'm sure they have a history like in the comics and stuff, but do they have like a history as far as these movies go?
not to my knowledge. I think
Okay.
that generally they will create that kind of pissing contest between two members in the Suicide Squad, just kind of in general.
Okay.
Because did you see the recent live action Suicide Squad movie, the second one that I guess is the Suicide Squad, the one with Idris and John Cena?
I haven't seen that one yet.
Okay. The same kind of dynamic is created between them.
Okay.
Idrissa and John Cena, who are Bloodsport and Peacemaker,
Okay.
are also having a similar pissing contest of like, I'm better than you. No, I'm better than you. And then they have like random contests of killing people. And like, I think it's kind of like baked into the Suicide Squad dynamic.
I got you. Okay.
And so I don't think that those two have history with each other, especially because Deadshot is usually a Batman problem and Captain Boomerang is usually a Flash problem. So yeah, like the comic books are expansive and there's no way that you can read everything.
Oh yeah.
So they have probably interacted and I just don't know about it. But yeah, as far as I know, they don't have very much interaction.
Okay.
But yeah, they have a little pissing contest. And again, Floyd Lawton is about business. Floyd Lawton is like, I'm not drinking tonight. We got school in the morning. Like, we got shit to do. I need to be at the top of my game. I need to be in my right mind. I cannot be off because I understand that Amanda Waller will end all of this. And I need to make it to my daughter. And while Floyd, that's one thing that I like that happens in this movie. Floyd never actually says it. He doesn't have to talk about it. We know that he is doing this to reunite with his daughter. Like we know that.
Yeah.
And they make that very clear without having to spend a bunch of time on it or without him having to have a conversation, without him bringing it up all the time. Like we just know that that's what he's here to do. And I appreciate that. So, Harley finds herself interested in Floyd.
Yeah.
And she just shows up in his room. And, he consents. So at least there's that.
Yahtzee.
And then Yahtzee. So, I guess, and, under the circumstances and based on their lines of work and all of that, I hope that he was safe.
Yeah.
Because that's not a baby that we need to have right now. And we don't know what the Joker has. And yeah. Anyway, I hope they were safe. But in comic books, who knows? So Harley gets dropped off at the toy store and just starts, making a ruckus, which attracts Batman, and they fight for a little bit. And she does better than she should, I think, in that fight.
See, I was curious about this. Was that the plan? Was to get Batman to capture Harley?
The plan was for her to end up back in Arkham.
Yeah, I just seemed like they took all that time to avoid the Batman. And then their key part of a big part of the plan was to get Batman involved.
Well, and that it was about timing. So the problem is if Batman would have been involved too early, that could have ruined the plan, that could have changed things. That would have been, an obstacle to climb because they needed first to get to Penguin to get equipment and get everything they needed. So that was step one, was making it to Penguin. So they didn't want Batman to stop them from getting to Penguin because getting to Penguin was a huge part of the plan because he had everything, like he had an armory for them. And then they also needed to set it up so that they could get into Arkham cleanly, as
Yeah.
opposed to being brought in as, uh, you know, inmates.
Okay. Yeah.
Patients?
Yeah.
I, I don't know if they're inmates or patients at Arkham because
Oh,
it's
they're both. They're patients and I think. Well, they're inmates, and then I think they become patients against their will. Is the best way to put it.
okay. Because I would figure there are some people who are in there as patients, but there are a lot of people who are in there strictly as inmates.
Mm, yeah.
Because there are sometimes Arkham is portrayed as like a very open area where people are in like kind of gowns,
Mm,
and it is more of an asylum for the unwell as
mm,
opposed to like a high security prison.
yeah.
So sometimes it's actually an asylum, and sometimes it's more what I think Blackgate would be.
Mm,
But this one was very much like a high security prison.
yeah.
Like there was
Yeah.
it if there were any people, or if there was a room where people were kind of just like freely roaming, and just there were doctors around and like that kind of
Mm,
situation,
yeah.
this wasn't that kind of Arkham.
No, and that's how it is in the game. Is it's more of a high security prison. I mean, they have like doctors and stuff walking around, but it's it's a prison, like a high security prison. So,
Yeah, and there may be different sections, or
mm,
different wards, different areas for different things, but in a movie that we discussed earlier, episodes in the episodes where we discuss The Dark Knight Returns Part 1, Part 2, that
mm,
version of Arkham is very different than this one.
mm,
Because in that version of Arkham, yeah, it's a white room. People are walking around in, gowns, and there are doctors that are there, rehabilitating. And that's
mm,
kind of the purpose and the goal. And even the Joker, he's like able to freely just, he's catatonic for a lot of it, but he's able to freely just roam and, walk around and have conversations and, all that. So it is interesting seeing how different versions of Arkham look. And having, played a little bit of the Arkham games, I knew that Arkham in this case was going to be a lot more prison like. And for the sake of the movie and with the people that we see are in there, it needs to be.
mm.
Because we see some rogues gallery.
Oh yeah.
Um, and we see them a little later, and we'll talk about them. But right now, Harley gets caught, and Batman checks her and is like, "Hey, the Joker's got a dirty bomb. What do you know?" She's like, "I know nothing."
Mm,
It's like, "All right, take her away, fellas." And then everybody gets in their disguises, and then they start, getting in there. Deadshot and Harley are able to get in pretty easily. I
mm.
will say, I'm pretty sure that Deadshot's facial hair is not acceptable for police officers.
Mm,
I feel
usually,
like I
yeah,
feel like you're not allowed to have hair below your lip line.
yeah. Normally it's mustache only.
And he definitely, his mustache was longer, like it went beyond his lip line, and then he had his little soul patch, which I
Mm,
don't know if it was a soul patch, but it was in the soul patch area.
yeah,
And
and a little beard. I think a little,
yeah,
maybe.
maybe.
Yeah.
But regardless, I don't think that was acceptable facial hair
Mm-mm.
um in the force. But whatever, that's cool.
And
So,
plus, I, I would worry about somebody recognizing me if I was Deadshot. Because
well, he usually wears a mask.
yeah,
And like I know that there are a lot of versions of Deadshot where his face is completely covered. Like
mm-hmm,
he's got he just has a little one eye that's
mm-hmm,
red, and then yeah, like his whole head is covered.
yeah,
So it makes sense that people didn't recognize him.
mm,
But yeah, I guess it depends on which uniform he decides to go with. But
that's
like Captain Boomerang, you should know who that is,
mm,
because he just wears clothes and a hat.
mm,
Like Captain Boomerang is just himself. And Black Spider, yeah, nobody should have known who he was.
mm.
And then King Shark, yeah, they had to bring him in a different way.
Yeah.
Because, yeah. So they get in there and they are, walking through, and they come across the Joker. And he is just the worst kind of guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, he just immediately demonstrates how toxic he is.
Mm.
And Harley falls for it, of course, but it looks like that may have been the plan the whole time. There was a lot of that. There was a lot of, that was what we wanted all along in this movie.
Yeah.
Which, I like, because you never know what's happening, you never know what's coming, you never it keeps you on your toes.
Mm.
And
I
it
like
also
this movie did a very good job with that, with keeping on your toes. And
yeah, and like a little misdirection, and demonstrating how smart and forward thinking a lot of these people are. Because whenever Harley used, it looked like a lot of that was planned but also wasn't, because the whole altercation, whenever Harley sees him, it's like, was that planned or not? Because that's what allowed Deadshot to actually
put
the thing on there so that everybody else could get in.
Yeah.
And that also, Harley used it to allow the Joker to escape, which is like, okay. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting, because I kind of wonder how planned it was, and if that was the goal, or if it was like, all right, we just got to make this work. It was hard to tell, because I'm wondering, if that wasn't the plan, what was the plan? Like, where were Deadshot and Harley trying to get so that he could do that? Because he had eyes on him the whole time, so I don't know. But it kind of felt like that was a part of the plan, but it also kind of didn't. And so I don't really know.
I'm also kind of confused what, like, the other guards that came to the cell after that, they just let Deadshot take her away again. I mean, I feel like other guards would be like, "Hey, she just took your gun, about killed one of our inmates. You're not going anywhere with her." That's
or I would have been like, "No, you're not taking her by yourself."
Yeah.
If I'm one of the other guards, I'm like, let me help you with that, because clearly you can't. You don't need to be by yourself with her, because she's too much for you alone. Because if you hadn't been by yourself, maybe we wouldn't have gotten into this situation.
Yeah.
So that's one where it's like, okay. Because when he was like, I got her. No, you don't. No. I don't trust you to have her. Like, I watched her have you. Like, we almost had to file paperwork and get the body bags and shit. Like, what are you doing? So yeah, I agree that, like, nah, there's no way that he's just like, oh, I got her now, we're good.
Yeah.
Hell no.
Like nothing happened.
Yeah, no, you need some help with her. So let's do that. So yeah, he's able to get everybody else in, and then when they get King Shark in and that guy like catches them, it's great that they were kind of like ready. Like, they were like, oh, we're having a little party down here, and Harley just had her top off immediately.
Yeah.
And again, forward thinking, very like situationally aware, I guess. And then that guy is like, oh, we're having a party, and that's why you mind your business.
Yeah. Because he was excited for a split second. He's like, wait a minute, you're Harley. Get over here.
He was like, oh, titties. Wait, those are Harley's titties. And he didn't make it out of there.
That was a rough one.
Yeah. And I mean, since there was a riot and since everybody escaped, I guess they'll be able to just say that that's what it was, because like, if the whole riot and all that hadn't happened, I kind of wonder how they were going to explain that.
Yeah.
But also, Amanda Waller, she would have figured it out. I'm sure that it would not have been, because she said keep the body count to a minimum. She didn't say don't kill anybody. She said just do your best to kill as few people as possible.
Yeah, I did like how she told Deadshot to use rubber bullets, and like as soon as he got the chance, he's like, "Nah, screw those
Yeah,
rubber bullets."
he put out the high velocity rounds.
Yeah,
Like rubber bullets, that's not who I am.
yeah,
And yeah, I also thought that was great. Like, because he saw the rubber bullets and he was like, nah,
just immediately like, "Nah, I'm not doing
not doing that. Like, you got me confused with somebody.
it."
Because yeah, I don't do rubber bullets. So everybody gets in, we're good. And then let's talk about whenever Deadshot kind of establishes dominance. Because that, to me, it doesn't seem like Captain Boomerang or Black Spider would take that well. Whenever Deadshot basically says, like, you all are idiots. I know what I'm doing. I'm in charge. If you do what I say, things will go well. Shut the fuck up and listen to me. Like, when he does that whole thing, when he has his HNIC speech, I was like, there's no way Captain Boomerang or Black Spider would have just been like, yes, sir.
No.
Like, absolutely no way.
No.
And I guess Captain Boomerang addresses it later.
Mm-hmm.
But Black Spider establishes very early, like, I don't want to work with anyone, but especially you people.
Mm-hmm.
You scum criminals. Yeah, and so yeah, there's no way Black Spider just like eats that.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, maybe there wasn't time to explore that, but and I mean, Deadshot was like, he was pissed, and he was like, even Harley tried to, make him feel better, and he was like, get the fuck off me.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. We're not together. So yeah. But anyway, another thing that we see, we know that the Joker's toxic, of course, but we see how toxic he is in this.
Yeah.
Or we get a, some semblance of how toxic he is. Through some of his comments and the fact that he feels jealousy at all. And yeah, like we'll get into that a little bit. But they make it to the contraband room and they find the Riddler staff, and Batman is, out in the streets. And whenever he saw Zsasz, it was like, I'm not in the mood tonight, Zsasz.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not playing games today. Just you don't want the, and then Zsasz didn't know any better, and then he got his shit clocked. And then Batman was like, Harley was a little too, Harley was weird tonight, don't you think? Alfred was like weirder than usual, so
Yeah.
And yeah, he played the footage, and he, I guess, just knows the Arkham shift.
See, I mean, it's cool, but that's a weird thing. Like, who works what on this day?
he knew people by name, and he knew their shifts. And I will say that's one thing that I thought was a good idea, because normally they just loop footage. But King Shark said, no, play yesterday's footage at the same time. Like, that's something that I feel like we don't see often. We normally just see them loop footage so that it looks like nothing is happening in certain areas, or so it looks like hallways are clear. But in this one, they looped yesterday's footage so that there'd be activity. And I was like, that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't usually see that. So I support that. And I guess because everything's time stamped, yeah, you said it for the same time. And then he said Shark Week had his first thought. It's like, okay, you don't have to be that way, but everybody's a villain here, I guess. But like, okay. So, yeah, Batman looks at the footage and he's like, oh, okay, let me just go take care of that.
Yeah.
And so when they get to the contraband room, they all fight, and Batman demonstrates why they didn't want those problems. Like, he just what he does to Harley in there, I'm like, yeah, see, what Harley should not have had any, she shouldn't have been able to do anything against him, because she gets her hammer and she's doing the and then just immediately bitch, stop. Like, yeah, like she gets face palmed and just gets moved out of the way. Like she is not a threat. And Killer Frost trying to use Mr. Freeze's gun was great.
Gets the shark in the face.
Yeah, yeah, that was not good for him.
Mm.
But I like their dynamic. I like that they start like he was he was in
Oh
from
yeah,
jump. Like
yeah,
he was ready to get it
yeah.
going. Like he was infatuated.
And
And
he was starting to win her over there too.
that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like they were starting to bond a little bit.
Mm.
And because whenever he saved her life, she was like, "Oh, okay,
Mm.
okay, I'm not mad about it." Because yeah, she absolutely would have died when
Oh
they
yeah.
got dropped out of that plane.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which that's kind of a moment where you kill somebody if you're going to. Like if you because one of the things that the Suicide Squad often does is demonstrate how expendable people are in the Suicide Squad. That's why they call it the Suicide Squad.
Mm.
So you can't have a Suicide Squad movie without at least half the squad perishing in most cases. And so the first time I watched this movie, I thought somebody's not gonna make it out of this plane, or like somebody's not gonna make it to the ground to the mission. But I guess KG Beast dying early covered that. Because I'm glad that we saw everybody that we saw. But I was surprised because I was like, oh yeah, there's no way they all make it to the ground. Just like in Deadpool 2, when they jumped out of a plane, I was like, there's no way everybody makes it to the ground. And in Deadpool 2, yeah, there was some deaths on the way down.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I thought that it was going to be a similar situation, but I'm okay with the fact that there wasn't. But in the contraband room, everybody fights, and then there's explosions and shit, and Black Spider tries to take on Batman, which is a terrible idea.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he walks out, and the spoils of war.
Yeah.
Which, again, in the Dark Knight Returns episode, I talk about Batman's costume game, his disguise game, being A1.
Mm-hmm.
This is another great example of Batman. He had the voice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how? How did he have his voice? That's wild. But that just, Batman is too much.
Yeah.
And I guess Batman and Black Spider are the same size. And
yeah.
Because what I'm wondering is how, in that very, very short amount of time, Batman was able to subdue Black Spider, put him in a bat costume, get himself into Black Spider's costume, and walk out of the room that had a bunch of explosions in it, while also Black Spider not dying, all in a matter of seconds.
It was literally seconds. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
But I guess that's Batman. That's prep time. That's the power of prep time. Since he had prep time, he didn't need all of the other time that we just talked about that he would need to do all of those things. He already had a Black Spider suit prepared.
I was gonna say maybe he was already wearing one underneath the bat suit.
Even though he was wearing a bat suit underneath the spider suit.
Yeah.
And he had a spare bat suit on him to be able to put Black Spider in one.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was that was one of those things I was like, that's comic book bullshit. But okay.
But it's fine. Yeah.
We're just gonna roll with it. We're just gonna let that ride. That's fine. So then we see the Joker escape, and we see that Killer Frost has had a little mission, a little visit to make. And she shows up at the Riddler cell, and she's not here to play games. Because he was like, "Aren't you curious? Don't you want to know?" He's like, "No, Amanda Waller, who has a detonator in my neck, told me to kill you. That's why I'm here. There's nothing left to talk about. I don't know what you like. You're just gonna have to die." And then he's like, "Oh, I know how to deactivate the bombs." She's like, "Oh, well." You
The
should
one
have
thing you
started.
could,
You
yeah,
should have led with that,
yeah.
and then I wouldn't have got this close to killing you. Also, if she's a, well, I guess they have different levels of security for different people because the Joker was behind like glass with holes, but the Riddler was just behind regular bars. And I was gonna say because like the fact that Killer Frost was able to just freeze and break the bars is like that's not very secure at all. And if she was in here, where would they put her? But I'm sure they'd find a room for her.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was like, that was super easy. Like,
I didn't even think about that, but yeah.
she
Oh.
just super easily just froze the bars. They just shattered, and then she was like, "All
Mm-hmm.
right, I'm in here." And like I was like, "Oh, that was easy." Okay. So yeah, I'm sure that if she was actually in there, they'd have something different for her because it looked like they had like different situations for people who needed different situations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that makes sense. Um, so then they're all trying to make it to the medical area because that's where they have to be in order to do this. And King Shark hates heights, which I love that they kept consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And Killer Frost guides him through there because I guess he's a fucking tank.
Yeah.
Because bullets don't work on him or something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what the situation is with his like mouth and teeth and all that, but I
See, his forehead and all that was exposed. Maybe he just had real thick skin or something. I don't know. Because
yes, I mean, and they mentioned we talk about his
oh
thick
yeah, oh
skin.
yeah, yeah, that's right, that's right.
So yeah, like,
But I was just thinking he's just running through toward those hail of bullets. Like one bullet would hit something that you would think, but
yeah, like as much as he had exposed, yeah, I would think that if bullets could kill him, then they would have.
mm,
I'll say that.
yeah,
So maybe they didn't have powerful enough rounds to kill him, but
maybe,
who
yeah,
knows?
yeah.
We also we see the Joker escape, which I guess was planned by Harley.
Mm. That's how I felt that she
She did it on
specifically,
purpose.
yeah.
Okay, because it was a little hard to tell, but yeah,
Mm,
that's what it's looking like is that she
mm,
did it on purpose.
mm,
So they make it to the room, and Black Spider says, "I'll keep a lookout," and everybody gets set up for their electroshock therapy. And then Amanda Waller calls, and she calls and she's furious. She's like, "What the fuck is going on? Don't jerk me around, Lawton." And one of the things I wonder is like, so was she not listening the entire time? Because if I'm Amanda Waller, I don't know if I'm turning that off.
mm,
Like even if I'm not talking to them, I'm gonna be listening in
mm.
the entire time.
That's that's how I feel. That
Because
I
there's
would,
one
yeah.
because there's one part whenever they're talking about the security cameras, they're like, so that we don't have to worry about being looked at. And he was like, by Batman or by Waller? By both.
Oh, yeah.
See, like, that's not a conversation I'm having if I know that she is listening to me.
Mm,
So I don't understand why, like, her not being tapped in the entire time, I think has a lot to do with how we got here. Like, Amanda Waller, you know better than that. Like, you know who we're dealing with. There's no reason you should not have been like listening in at like for the entire mission, because that's why you had questions. That's why you didn't understand what was going on. That's why we're confused. Like, Amanda Waller, you absolutely should have been listening in the entire time, or
mm,
had somebody listening in.
yeah.
Even if it wasn't you specifically, like you should have been in a room of people that had ears on them at all times. So yeah, that was very unlike Amanda Waller to me. Like I feel like that character would have kept a better eye on them, and like that. I know the movie had to happen, and
Yeah.
so whatever.
But
But
I'm with you though, because the whole mission was to get that thumb drive back from the Riddler that was going to expose her whole operation. So like you would think that she would be on top of the whatever what everything that's happening. So
exactly. So a lot of what happened was definitely because she wasn't keeping up with them.
Mm-hmm.
But um the Riddler gets him in the room and he, sets everybody up for some electroshock therapy while Black Spider keeps a lookout. And then she calls, she gets pissed off, and everybody's bombs are, diffused right on time. And she hits the button. King Shark dies. And you could tell in that moment that, I mean, and there were moments you could tell before that, but like that was when you knew that Killer Frost really cared about him.
Yeah.
Because whenever she pushed the button, and Riddler was like, huh, that's weird. She was like,
Yeah.
do it again. Run
Yeah.
it right now. Like, do it again. And he was like, maybe his skin is too thick. Like, the Riddler had nonchalant about it at all. Like, he was like, oh, well, sorry.
Yeah.
I tried, but I guess it didn't work. And then they were like, well, what's his excuse? Because we see in the hallway that Black Spider's in the Batman suit. So this was your first time watching this movie. What were your thoughts on that little twist?
I thought, I thought it was great for the movie, but from the get go, I was like, there's no way Black Spider beat Batman in that. So I was like, I knew something was up.
Yep.
But it was a great twist though, with because Joker walks up to behind him when his head blows up. He's like, "This is the best gun ever."
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
But yeah, when the first time I watched this movie, I said the same thing. I was like, "Oh, there's no way
Yeah.
that Black Spider beat Batman. I don't even know who he, and he absolutely not. Like,
Yeah.
I know this nameless dude did not beat Batman. Yeah, something's up. Something's amiss. And if he didn't have the voice, it would have been like a lot easier to tell. But because he had the voice,
so that was a great touch. I'm assuming it was the same voice actor talking,
yeah.
but
I assume it was Giancarlo. But
yeah.
if it was Kevin Conroy doing that, then I was like, that's impressive.
Yeah.
But yeah, that twist was interesting to me, but I knew there was something there. Like the first time I watched the movie, I didn't realize like, oh, it is in fact Batman. But I knew that something about it didn't feel right. But whenever, because I think for some people they didn't realize it until his head actually exploded, but for some people they knew it whenever he was like slowly walking in the hallway. Because that's when I knew it. Because we see him like walking in the hallway and like he's hurt and he's in the bat suit, but his little like the noises he was making were not Kevin, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's where Black. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I get it now. I understand how we got here. So for any of the people that were watching this movie for the first time, I'd love to hear if that got you, or if you knew what was going on, or at what point you realized it. Like I'd love to hear some feedback on that. But his head explodes, and the Joker saying, "Denzel, what have they done to you?" First of all, hilarious.
Yeah.
But his head should not have been intact.
No, because nobody else's was.
Nobody else's was. I think that they left his head intact for two reasons. One, so that the Joker knew that was not Batman. And two, so that the Joker could listen in on his earpiece, which should not have made it through. But yeah, like that, because King Shark's head was gone. KGB's head,
I was gonna say his was gone too. Yeah.
And so the fact that he was just decapitated. His head didn't actually explode, but it's like, no, everybody else's head exploded. And so that was a little, okay. I think we could have, we probably should have thought about that one a little better. Little continuity issue there, but
that is how the Joker knew where to go next was because he got that earpiece.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like that's
Yeah.
why it had to happen that way.
Yeah.
But if that's the case, then you don't blow up King Shark's head.
No,
Like
yeah.
you because KGB's head disappeared. Like his head was gone.
Mm.
Because like normally in a situation like that, we'd have like seen or heard his head land because he was a robot. So I guess his head would have stayed intact.
Yeah.
But and another thing that I wonder if Killer Frost's bomb would have even worked, because if she's able to like freeze her body and she exists in a state of like frozenness, it's my understanding that freezing a bomb can, at a minimum, delay it.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if I like, honestly, Amanda Waller probably took that into account, but I'm wondering if Killer Frost's bomb would work based on her body.
Yeah, because they even pointed out in the movie, because that's how she gets into the prison or into Arkham, is because she's so frozen cold that they thought she was dead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so they're like, obviously, oh yep, this body's dead.
Yeah.
And that's the point. When I was like, would the bomb even work in her head? But again, let's assume Amanda Waller
planned for that somehow.
Yeah, like let's assume that she already had that handled.
Mm.
So then they start fighting, and then the Joker shows up and starts blowing shit up, as the Joker does, and Batman is like, I need to leave.
Yeah.
I'll come back, but right now I need to go.
Yeah.
Because it's too much. So then the squad comes face to face with the Joker as he's just kind of roaming the hallways, and he's about to kill Floyd because he's like, I don't like people touching my things. And I was like, oh, that's super toxic.
Yeah.
But that's the Joker. Like he's one of the most toxic people that exist in like that's a part of his whole thing, is that he's not a good dude. So Harley basically is like, no, I did it for us. You're the only reason I'm here. And this is what made him my favorite version of Deadshot, when he was like, go ahead and pull the trigger. You out of bullets.
Yeah. That was a great part. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was like, whenever it clicks, I'm gonna beat your ass. And the Joker was like, hold on, time out. Stop counting. I'm pretty sure there are bullets in here.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's good shit.
Yeah. And even, I think it was Boomerang, he's like, you just out crazy the Joker.
Yeah. And see, and that it is at that point the Captain Boomerang should have been like, all right, you being in charge, I get it. I see how we got here. Like, I see why I lost every pissing contest we had. Because you're about it. Yeah. And so that's the scene where I was like, oh yeah, this is my Deadshot.
Yeah.
Like if Deadshot is like, if every version of Deadshot I see is like this one, Deadshot's gonna end up being in one of my top lists, because like this is a really good version of Deadshot. But no other version of Deadshot that I've seen is as good as this one to me. That's voice actor or live action actor, that's character, that's all the parts. But so he and Harley escape down the, I guess, laundry chute, and he takes her mallet, and that's where the bomb is. It's like, oh, so the bomb was in Arkham the whole time. Alrighty. Should have known that. And then
did I don't remember if it ever showed. Did Harley know the bomb was in there the whole time?
I don't think she did.
I don't think she did either.
I don't think she did, because I think that the Joker just said, hey, get the mallet. But whenever she said to Batman that she knew nothing, Batman determined that she was telling the truth. And then, yeah, like I I don't think she knew about the bomb and the mallet. And she mentioned, like, Mr. J doesn't tell me everything.
Mm.
So,
and the way she just kept swinging it around.
Yeah, she was using it
Yeah,
like it was a mallet, and so yeah, there's no way she could have known. But yeah, so they have their standoff. He pretty much lights the fuse on the bomb, and then Batman comes back to stop the Joker, and the Joker releases everyone.
mm-hmm.
And when he releases people, it is an issue. There are two main people who are a problem.
Mm-hmm.
That is Bane and that is Poison Ivy.
Yep.
Now, the fact that Bane and Poison Ivy were being contained leads me to believe that if Killer Frost was in there, they'd have come up with something for her specifically.
Mm-hmm.
But with Bane, it's funny that like when they released him, his like juice started,
mm-hmm.
and I was like, all right, they should have cut him off, but
yeah,
that's fine. And then yeah, with Poison Ivy, she was the one thing that I think a lot of people don't get is that Poison Ivy could get a lot done,
mm-hmm.
and this kind of shows that. Now, I will say, we see two different times in this movie women using a quote-unquote kiss of death.
Mm-hmm.
We see Killer Frost do it early, when she kisses a guy and then he freezes to death. Mm-hmm. And then we see Poison Ivy do it to get people on her side. I don't like it. That's a trope that feels real misogynistic. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there are some things that are terribly misogynistic that like don't bother me, but that one bothers me. I don't like it.
Yeah, because it seems like there's other ways you could go about it. Like Poison Ivy could just have like a mist that does the same thing.
Yeah.
And Killer Frost has shown that she could just touch somebody.
Yeah.
And do the same thing. So
exactly. So yeah, we didn't need to do all that.
Yeah.
But whatever. I'm not surprised, but the fact that they used it twice in this movie is why I'm bringing it up, and like it we can do better. Mm. That's a trope we don't need. But yeah, the Joker releases everybody, and so everybody's busy. There are a lot of people who die. Mm. And this is also my favorite version of Batman subduing Bane. Because normally we will see Batman just kind of like casually cut Bane's supply and then it's over. But this one, he had to get up on the back of his neck and he had to actually pull, like the way that he had to actually get the juice off of Bane was really good to me.
Yeah.
Because this Bane was fucking massive. And normally, yeah, like Batman either really struggles against Bane and loses, or he just, throws a batarang, cuts off Bane's supply, and then the fight's over. But yeah, like this one, he actually had to get on the back of his head and like pull all 4 hoses out. And I was like, I really like that.
I want to say that's the same way they do it in the game.
That's what I assumed.
Yeah, because I remember you jump on his back. You pretty much do the same thing, which is very fun. But I haven't
played through the Arkham games, but I played through God of War, and it felt like a God of War type.
Yeah.
Happening to me. And I was hoping that was something from the game, because when I saw it and I knew this movie existed in that universe, I was like, that would be brilliant for how you defeat him in the game. And if that's what they did, then excellent. They were already ahead of it.
Yeah.
So that is the best like way of handling Bane that I've seen. Especially at the size they made Bane so big.
Oh yeah.
In this game, like the fact that Batman was able to stand on the back of his head, and the fact that Batman needed his arms to pull the hoses out. I was like, yeah, that Bane is huge.
Yeah.
And then Poison Ivy was fucking a lot of people up, and she can do that. So we see that Bane. We assume that Killer Frost dies because she gets in a car and Bane throws that car and that car explodes.
Yep.
And if anybody's not surviving an explosion, it's going to be Killer Frost.
Yeah.
So, R.I.P. And then, and before that, whenever Batman comes back to Arkham and Lawton, we'll handle our business later. There's more important shit to do.
Yeah.
Like, let's not what you don't want is a pissing contest with me. First of all. But secondly, like you know the deal. You know you don't want these problems. You know that we don't need to do this today. We can have our stuff later on. But like today, there are more important matters. We both want the Joker to be stopped.
Yeah.
So putting our stuff aside, what are we doing here? And then he he's like, all right, cool. I don't want those problems. Yeah. You're correct. So let's just go ahead and work together on this a little bit.
Yeah. Which that's from my experience with Deathshot through like video games and stuff like that. That seems to usually be they seem to always have respect for one another, even though they try to kill each other a lot. But they like stuff like that does happen where
they have a mutual understanding.
Yeah.
And they can put their shit aside if there's bigger threats or like other matters to deal with.
Yeah.
So and again, I love it because again, this is a version of Deadshot that he's like, I have an understanding for what Batman is, and Batman is like, while I could take care of you, that's not the best play right now.
Yeah.
Like we can worry about it later, and we will. And whenever they're like, hey, we need a way out of here, and then they see the helicopter, they just all scatter.
So it's every man for himself at that point.
And I'm like, yep, that's villain shit.
Yep.
Because we there's no way we could just all cooperate and make our way to the helicopter. Like, why can't we all cooperate and make our way to there? Like, but it's because they're villains, I guess. But yeah, I would have been like, oh, let's all we can all fit. So let's go. I get why Captain Boomerang and Deadshot wouldn't have wanted to make that work, but if I'm Killer Frost, I wouldn't have tried to push them out the. But also, I'm not a villain, so
yeah. Which that was kind of weird because Killer Frost is the one that initiated it. She shoved them both down, then took off running.
Exactly.
So, yeah. So.
And so that's what I'm saying. Like it's like, oh, she's still a villain.
Yeah.
Yep, that didn't go away. So shortly thereafter, she dies, R.I.P. And then Floyd makes it to the helicopter, and Captain Boomerang does not. And we don't know what happens to Captain Boomerang, but he's probably, well, I don't know, because it's Suicide Squad, so he might be dead, or he's fine and just in Arkham. But Floyd gets on there, and of course, the Joker and Harley were hiding, which I don't know why. They could have just taken the helicopter.
Yeah, and where were they hiding at? Because there wasn't anything in the background of the helicopter. It was just the two pilot seats and then a big open space. Where were they?
Great question. I assumed there was something back there they were hiding behind, but it doesn't seem like there was.
At least from what I saw, it literally looked like it was just the two pilot seats and then just a big open space.
That's what it looked like to me too.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
Yeah.
That's fine. So, they reveal themselves, and I guess Batman knows that the Joker's already on the helicopter. And maybe the reason they hit on the helicopter is because neither of them can fly one.
That's possible. Harley
But
definitely couldn't.
yeah, but then how did they know that somebody like I don't know. Yeah, okay. That's I could spend all day wondering about that, but
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, they are on the helicopter. Batman knows that they're on the helicopter, so Batman, of course, follows.
Mm.
And he gets of course, Floyd and the Joker are pissed at each other
Mm.
because Floyd is like, you're the Joker and causing problems, and like yeah, and the Joker is very personally bothered by Floyd because of what happened between he
Yeah.
and Harley,
Yeah.
which she did get pistol whipped for. Um,
Yeah.
she was getting all kinds of punishment, but he's toxic as hell, so that
Mm.
makes sense. And she tries to fly the plane or the helicopter. Batman gets her off of it. And then whenever they talk, she says to him, like, yeah, he hits me sometimes, but I I still love him.
Uh,
And you're the problem, Batman.
yeah, because that's what she says. She says he hits me sometimes, but you hurt me is what she says to Batman, I think, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Like that's so. But I mean, that's how that's what toxic like. I guess that's what it is, because seeing it is wild
Yeah.
because it actually happens in real life, and it's um I mean, I'm not gonna say it's worse because I would assume nobody's as bad as the Joker, but there may be people who are. I don't know.
Mm.
But there are a lot of people who stay in very abusive relationships, and it's like, why though?
Mm.
And especially with Harley, because she's very capable, and she was a doctor, and
Mm.
she could be out on her own. Like, she's incredibly skilled in a lot of areas. And yeah, I it's it's wild to me, but like also potentially realistic for some people,
Mm.
because there are a lot of people that will just choose to stay in toxic relationships knowing that it is not in their best interest,
Mm.
but they just can't seem to shake off the love they have for that toxic individual.
Yeah.
It's interesting. But so yeah, she says that, and they fight, and that doesn't go well for Harley, obviously. And then the Joker and Deadshot are fighting. And one thing that another reference from episode 16, The Dark Knight Returns, part 2, when the Joker and Batman fight, the way that the Joker stabs Batman in that movie,
Mm.
um, very similar to how the Joker stabs Floyd in this movie.
Hmm.
Like, I call it a jug because to shank somebody is usually up close. Yeah, a
Mm.
shank is usually very personal, very short distance. To jug, you bring it back and like, jug's got some range on it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, Floyd got to just eat those.
Mm.
Um, but then he kicks him into the helicopter, and then it falls and it explodes, and it is mentioned, did they find a body? Nope.
Nope.
Because of course not.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, maybe Killer Frost isn't dead, because explosions aren't a guarantee if there's no body. But Killer Frost died.
Mm.
She's dead. um so one of the things that I do find interesting is that Amanda Waller is the only person in this movie who is not bothered by Batman.
Mm.
Because whenever Batman shows up, she says, "Oh, it's just you."
Yeah. Yeah.
Just nonchalant at all, unbothered entirely. And I'm like, what? Like, but that makes sense for Amanda Waller.
Mm.
Amanda Waller has a very high level of hubris. Um, and for good reason. But yeah, I was I was like, oh, okay, Amanda, that's fine.
Yeah.
And she's like, it's just you. And Batman starts talking, and she's like, we're the U.S. government. Are you threatening me? You think I'm afraid of you? Like, I can shut down your whole little operation.
Yeah.
And Batman is like, I'm warning you. And then he disappears. And then she's about to get sniped. And that's what Floyd said he was going to do.
He did say it. Yeah.
And I'm sure that Batman knew exactly what was going on. Because when Batman said, I'm warning you, you don't want those problems, I'm sure that, yeah, Batman was aware.
Mm-hmm.
He knew what was going on. And I like that his daughter was just in the background with headphones.
Yeah.
like you don't need to see what's about to happen. So you just play with your toys and listen to a little something. Yeah, that's I hope she was wearing noise canceling.
Yeah.
But yeah, Amanda Waller again, this is my Amanda Waller. I loved Amanda Waller in this movie. I loved Deadshot in this movie. There was nobody that I didn't like, honestly. Because
I like everybody.
I don't know if this is my favorite version of the Riddler, but I didn't have an issue with it.
I do like the voice actor, which is any Criminal Minds fans out there. He's Reed off of Criminal Minds.
Okay,
the real smart one.
That makes sense.
I hope it's Reed. I hope I didn't just make a fool of myself.
Well, that's fine. Somebody will correct you.
Yeah.
This isn't my favorite version of King Shark, but I didn't hate it. But my favorite version of King Shark is from the Harley Quinn show. But everybody else I really liked in this movie. I thought that everybody was represented well. So Dallas, on a scale of 1 to 10, what are you thinking?
Overall, I'm gonna give this one a 9. 9 out of 10.
Okay. It's very good.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good. I'm gonna give it an 8. I really enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as some of my 9s. But it's very good.
Yeah.
I liked a lot of things about it.
Yeah.
There were some like little things, if I'm gonna get nitpicky, that we did already discuss, but overall, very good. I enjoyed this movie every time I watch it.
Yeah, it's one I could definitely watch multiple times and still enjoy it.
And again, the fact that it exists in the Arkham universe, I knew that I had to have you for this episode. So I really hoped you would enjoy it, and I hoped that you would be able to see some things from the game that were incorporated into the movie.
It's definitely got me wanting to go play the games again.
Well, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad it had that effect. Anything else on this movie?
Just, it's a great movie. I recommend everybody go see it.
If you're listening to us, hopefully you've already seen it.
Yeah.
And if you haven't, you should.
Yeah.
We just talked about it in great detail, but if you haven't seen it, just go ahead and give it a little look-see. It's and especially if you have played any of the Arkham games.
Yes.
Go watch it. I think that will add a level of enjoyment for you if you have played any of the Arkham games and then you watch this movie, because again, it exists in the same universe, and it's the only movie that does, as far as I know.
Oh, okay.
So, yes. In the next episode, we will be discussing Justice League Thrones of Atlantis. So until then, salutations.